Welcome to GOT. Today we're going to talk about the Honor Magic V5 and the Z Fold 7. They are about to be released, and we're going to compare these head-to-head with the rumors that are out right now. And also we're going to throw in the Vivo X Fold 5 because it's going to be released or announced in July as well. Even though out of the gate it may be a step behind these two. Let's get to it. So let's start with the Honor Magic V5. You know, Honor is pulling out all the stops on this phone. According to their teaser leaks right now, we've got an pretty big upgrade with this phone. Starting with the cameras. The cameras are going to be a 50, 50, and 64. And I'll explain those here in just a moment. First, we got to talk about early rumors. Early rumors were that the Honor Magic V5 was going to have a triple 50 megapixel camera setup. And then later on, we heard leaks that may have a 200 megapixel camera with a 3x zoom on it, which would have been pretty awesome and I was excited about. But most recently, and even leaks through Honor, we've got a 50, 50, and 64 megapixel camera. Now, the 64 megapixel camera is going to be the 3x zoom, and that's an optical zoom, not a digital. With digital, you're going to be able to go 5 and 10 times real quickly with the push of a button. Now, with this alone, we could tell that Honor has been listening to all that people have been saying, like the love of the OnePlus Open and even the Vivo because of their camera setup, the 50, 50, and 64 megapixel being what people felt was the ideal setup. Now with these cameras is coming some AI work to the phone, which is going to actually improve the camera processing through AI as well. Now they're doing all this with a phone that's actually didn't go thinner. And look at this phone. This thing is super thin already. This thing is a 4.3 millimeters in thickness when it's open, and it's going to drop to a 4.1 or 3.9. And we know it's going to at least be the 4.1 because they are boasting to be the thinnest foldable, beating the Oppo Find N5, which is a 4.2 millimeters in thick. Now, this thickness race, a lot of us don't get it when we just prefer have maybe a little thicker phone and better hardware. Well, they're not compromising the hardware. In other words, you're going to see that the lump of the camera is actually staying the same, even though the phone's getting a little thinner, so that they can keep the better cameras in the phone and actually improve those cameras across the board. And I'm here to tell you, I guarantee that 64 megapixel zoom lens is going to do a whole lot better than what you're going to get out of this phone, which is a 200 megapixel. And we'll talk about that in a moment. Hey, I want to take a quick second and tell you how much I appreciate for tuning in to the channel as we talk about the Z Fold 7 and the Honor Magic V3 coming up here shortly. If you get something out of this video, please do me a favor and show me how much you appreciate this video by smashing that like button. It really does help out the channel. It helps me to bring out more videos like this to you. And remember, coming soon will be reviews. Now back to the video. Now this phone's going to be 8.8 millimeters folded, which again beats the Oppo Find N5. I believe it's a 9.0 or 9.1 folded. I'll put the number up here. So their claim of being the thinnest phone when it comes out is going to stand until someone else makes a thinner phone. Which brings us to the Z Fold 7, which they're claiming the Z Fold 7 is going to be the thinnest Samsung phone out there. Not necessarily the thinnest foldable, because rumor is it's going to be a 4.5 millimeters thick. Now, they're saying if you don't include the bezel, it's going to be 3.9 or 4.2. So it may be really close to the thinness of the Honor Magic V5. Now, the cameras on the Z Fold 7 is pretty much going to be the same as it's always been, with the exception of the 50 megapixel main shooter. It's now going to be a 200 megapixel main shooter. So you'll get more detail just from the point and shoot camera. It's going to suffer a little bit when you go to cropping. It's not going to crop as well, but supposedly you're not going to have to worry about cropping because they are coming out with a 3x zoom. Of course, it's only a 10 megapixel zoom, just like it's always been, and I believe a 12 megapixel ultra wide. I'll put all the details here on the screen. Now, the 200 megapixel cameras on the Samsungs, I've never really been impressed with because they're basically just a selling point with a high number. You're not really getting that much better photos, especially if you try to crop in or do a digital 2x or 5x zoom. It does not even compare anything to what you get on the Honor Magic V3 or the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, because this has only got the 10 megapixel 3x zoom, which it doesn't take much to understand that a 50 megapixel or a 64 megapixel on the new phone will actually more than outperform this 200 megapixel non-zoom lens or the 3x 10 megapixel zoom. Now, both these phones are going to come in around 217 grams, which is the lightest of any foldable, and actually even lighter than my Samsung S25 Ultra or iPhone Pro Max. And when folded, both of these phones are going to be just as thin as those two phones, or even come in slightly thinner. Now, both of these phones are going to come out with the Snapdragon Elite chip, and supposedly from what I'm reading, the automatic V5 is going to be the unfiltered chip, so it's going to have the full power, where on the Samsung Z Fold 7, it's going to have the full 8-core chip. However, it's going to get some throttling, and I can show you that with proof if you check out my video on the Samsung S25 Edge that has the Elite chip in it. That bad boy gets throttled heavily. And if you check out that video, you can also see the testing on the 200 megapixel camera. So we actually have some inside knowledge and already know how the Z Fold 7 is going to perform. Now, the couple things that Samsung's really got going for it is the software. As we know, the software on the Samsung Z Fold is really second to none because it's the Samsung software with all the bells and whistles and all the extras, if you have the patience to get through and learn all those extras. The multitasking on the Z Fold is really good, and it's actually even get better with some new multitasking features that we'll talk about more later in another video, or actually cover once I get the Z Fold 7. Now, there is rumor that they're going to be adding more AI and multitasking to the automatic V5 or Magic OS. Don't know what that looks like now, but I can assure you we're going to find out. Now, another area that Samsung has over its competitor here is the fact that they're available, and the coverage for warranty is much more accessible than the Honor Magic, simply because this is sold everywhere in the world, and where I'm from in the United States, they actually have service stores all over the place. So being able to get service on the device, warranty coverage, it's much more superior on the Samsung Z Fold 7. Whereas I haven't tried to get any services on the Honor Magic V3. I haven't needed any so far, and hope to goodness we don't have to. But just in case, I did purchase a warranty on it, or not a warranty actually, insurance through Allstate. So if I do have any issues, I am covered there. But so far, so good. I actually had an accident with this just today. I'll put a link to the short down below. You can check it out. A spoiler, this thing did really well when dropped at a high speed and slid down a street. Now back to the winning side for the Honor Magic V5, even the V3, it's going to have a 6.1 milliamp hour battery inside the V5. It may be a 5.9. There's rumors on one of the two, but either way, it's going to be the largest battery on a foldable. It's going to beat out the Oppo Find N5 and, of course, the Z Fold 7, which is going to keep its pitiful 4,400 milliamp hour battery. Now, there's a lot of people out there say they don't have issues with their Z Fold 6 lasting all day. I don't either, but if I get heavy use, I can really see it on the Z Fold 6. And I can all imagine with a larger screen going from 7.6 to an 8-inch screen, it's going to have a lot more demands, and in the front screen as well. So hopefully they really have that phone optimized with the chip, because that Snapdragon Elite chip is going to actually draw more power as well, and that's going to be draining the phone even more. So unless somehow Samsung has developed some superpowers in making this thing really perform, the Z Fold 7's battery is going to be its biggest downfall, or they're going to be doing a lot of throttling. Now, I know some of you have asked me, how is the software on the Honor Magic V3? It is excellent. I don't find any issues, and I'm not really missing anything that you get on the Samsung Z Fold 6, simply because a lot of the software you have to get good luck for to put on this phone comes on this phone automatically. You don't have to download another app and work through it to find out the different features that you want to have. But I know there are power users out there that can't live without good luck, so the Z Fold 7 is the way to go. Now, the Z Fold 7 is going to come out with 12 gigabytes of RAM, where the Honor Magic V3 is going to come out with 16. So again, topping the Z Fold 7 on hardware right out the gate. So I can't imagine how you cannot get better performance out of the Honor Magic V3 than you can the Z Fold 7. Let's go ahead and talk about the wild card, the Vivo X Fold 5. This phone is going to be released around the same time, but out of the gate, it's going to come with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chip, not the Elite chip. So we're out of the gate, it's going to be a little slower. However, that said, I haven't had any issue of performance between the 8 Gen 3 chip versus the Elite chip that I have in the S25 Ultra or in the S25 Edge, which is really throttled. So that one was more like these other two phones in performance. So what I'm saying is I wouldn't really count the Gen 3 chip against the Vivo X Fold 5 unless you're really one of those hardcore power users. So the Vivo is going to get thin as well, just like the rest of these. And I think that they're going to have the larger bump so that they don't compromise the cameras as much as Samsung has done. And it could be that they're thinking, with it being thinner, having the Snapdragon Gen 3, they won't have to throttle it as much as the Elite chip. So you may get excellent performance on the Vivo X5. Now, to be transparent, I've never tried one of those Vivo phones, so I can't really compare it or say how it will perform against these two. But if you look at specs alone, it should do fine. So these two Titans are coming out in July. You need to keep out a look for them. I believe on the 2nd of July is the announcement for the Automatic V5, and on July 8th is the announcement for the Samsung Z Fold 7. Whichever way you go, I think it's shaping up to be a great year for both manufacturers. Now it's time for me to hear from you. What do you think? Are you excited about either phone? Are you just going to get the Samsung Z Fold 7 no matter what because you're a Samsung user? No problem with that. Or are you excited about the Automatic V5 being the one that tops them all? I know if you're a V3 user already, you're probably pretty excited about the V5 because the V3 is an awesome phone. So tell me your thoughts down in the comments. If you want to know more about the Z Fold 7, check out this video here. Until then, have a wonderful day and God bless.